everybody, welcome to the show. My name is Amanda. I am a teacher-turned-homeschool mom, and this is Raising A to Z, a place where we talk about all things homeschooling. And today I'm going to share with you my absolute favorite Christmas books. I love Christmas. That is a surprise to no one who knows me in person, but I am a huge fan of Christmas. I like Halloween. I like dressing up for Halloween. We spend a lot of time getting ready for Halloween. The moment that we take off our costumes, I am instantly into like Christmas mode. We actually brought the Christmas tree in after trick-or-treating this year. So yeah. So I love everything about Christmas. And one of the things that I love about homeschooling during the Christmas holidays is that there are so many amazing books out there. Like, there's so many Christmas books, and it's just such an easy way to bring literacy into your day during the holidays because there's just so many great options. So I'm going to share with you some of my absolute favorite books. Now, I have been collecting books for, past 10 years, maybe longer. I started collecting, probably longer. I started collecting Christmas books back in my teacher college days. So like when I was like 20, 21. So yeah, probably like 14 years, 12, 14 years, something like that. So my collection is quite extensive at this point. Every year I add a few books to it. And so I just pulled out my absolute favorites, the ones that I'm just like, they make me so happy. So like I said, I've collected over the years. These were not purchased all at once. Just want everyone to know that. And some of these books I even got at my local used bookstore. So definitely, if you're looking for books, don't forget to look there. But I have this huge collection of books, and I'm going to share with you my favorites. So I'm going to start with some picture books, and then I've got a couple chapter book options that make great read alouds for younger kids or great books for older kids to read themselves. Let's start with the picture books. I'm going to start with The 12 Days of Christmas in Canada. I, being a Canadian, am a sucker for any books that have to do with Canada. Maybe it's because I just see so much American content that I kind of get excited when I finally find Canadian content. But this is one of my favorite Christmas books that is a Canadian Christmas book. And it goes through different Canadian things throughout the book. It basically does the 12 Days of Christmas, obviously. But it talks about different like Canadian traditions around the country, different things that happen that are kind of uniquely Canadian. And so I just love it. It's simple, it's easy, it's fun. It's just a great book that we pull out every year. And it's just definitely a favorite around here. So 12 Days of Christmas in Canada. Great book. Not too complicated, but just a lot of fun. Pick a Pine Tree. This was a book I found a couple years ago, and I love it because I feel like it's one aspect of Christmas that doesn't get talked about enough. We often talk about the gifts. We talk about the religious significance of Christmas. We talk about Santa. We talk about, all the other things, but rarely do we talk about like decorating, which is a huge part of Christmas. Of like preparing for the Christmas season, but we don't often talk about the decorating itself. And that's what this book is about. It is all about picking a pine tree and turning it into a Christmas tree. It is beautiful. It's beautifully illustrated. It goes through all the steps of getting your tree ready, getting all the steps of like what you would do for it, decorating it. And then at the end, you have this beautiful like pop-up Christmas tree. It is beautiful. It is simple, but it's a really fun book. And it's about a topic, like I said, that we don't discuss a lot when we're talking about holiday traditions and things that are happening. We don't talk about decorating. And this is just a great book to bring that in. And it's a lot of fun. It's a great, great story. Over the last couple of years, I have been making a conscious effort to try to add a little bit more diversity to our library in general. I say library because we have a lot of books in our home. So when I was looking for Christmas books and looking at adding some Christmas books, I got really excited when I found a few books that had BIPOC characters in it. So this is one of them. The Truth About Mrs. Claus. I picked this up brand new last year, right after Christmas. So my kids haven't even read this one yet. So I'm very excited to introduce this one to them. But it basically is all about who is running the show, who is running things behind the scenes at Christmas time. Mrs. Claus, because let's be real, that's who's doing a lot of the work. And it goes through who is she, where is she, and if they can find her, because she's kind of gone missing a little bit. And it is a great story. Like I said, it features BIPOC characters. And it's just like a fun new take on a Christmas classic, right? It's because we often talk about Santa. Again, we're talking about people who aren't always represented or things that aren't always represented. Everyone knows about Santa. We often forget about Mrs. Claus though. And so this is kind of like part of her story. So it's a fun book. I think my kids are really going to love it. I can't wait for them to read this one with me this year. Oh, this book, Carla and the Christmas Cornbread. I found this one a few years ago, and it is probably one that I pull out every year and absolutely love. Like, this one is one of the few that brings tears to my eyes. This is a story of a little girl, again, another BIPOC character, who is getting ready for Christmas and accidentally eats Santa's cookies on Christmas Eve. What is she going to do? Well, her and her grandma get together, and instead of cookies, they make a family classic, which is cornbread. And it is just such a great story. It shows how, we can make the traditions that we want to make. And then bonus, it has the exact recipe. It has the authors, Carl Hall, who wrote the book. It has her exact family recipe in the back, along with the cinnamon butter that you would put on it, which would make it more of like a Christmassy kind of rendition of cornbread. So you can actually not only read the book, it comes with an activity. It comes with a recipe that you can do. So like, great story to start, awesome bonus activity to go along with it. And like I said, features BIPOC characters. So it's like, just checked a lot of boxes for me recently. And it's just like I said, a great story. This is definitely one I highly, highly recommend. 5 More Sleeps Till Christmas. This is a Jimmy Fallon book. I bought this one just because I like Jimmy Fallon. But then once I read it, it has become a classic in our house. My kids absolutely love it. So every night for the 5 nights before Christmas, this little boy is trying to stay up. He's trying to stay up. He's so excited, and then he falls asleep. And so he's going through every night trying to stay up in hopes of being able to see Santa. And it's not complicated, but it's very, very sweet. My kids think it's so funny watching him fall asleep day after day after day. And then at the end, he gets so excited because it's not 5 nights, it's not 4 nights, it's not 3 nights, it's not 2 nights, it's not 1 night, but there's only 364 sleeps till Christmas. So it's just such a sweet story. It keeps the kids engaged. It's a simple, easy, fun read, but it's also like very, very heartfelt. And it's Jimmy Fallon. Like, he's just so much fun anyway. So that was a great, great book that we love. This is Samurai Santa. Samurai Santa is a book that I actually found at the dollar store. It is available in other places, but apparently the year that they came out with this, they overprinted, and I got it for like $4, which was a steal of a deal. But this is such a fun book. It is about this little ninja right here who is at his ninja convent, and no one is able to play with him. So he's mad because they're all getting ready for Christmas. And so he decides he's going to bust Santa because Santa has ruined everything. Santa has ruined all his fun because everyone is busy preparing for Santa and not doing fun things with him. And so he decides to bust Santa and have an epic snowball fight with him. It sounds absolutely hilarious, but it is so, so cute. And I love the illustrations. They really stick with this color palette. These are the only colors in the entire book, are these like reds, grays, whites, and blacks. It is beautifully illustrated. It is just absolutely, it's a beautiful book. It goes through an entire snowball fight. It is a great, great book for everyone. But my kids think it's absolutely hilarious, and we read it every single year. So this is a great book that I think your family will love. Something I picked up last year, I Spy Christmas. Because this was a classic staple of my childhood growing up. Everybody I knew read I Spy when we were little. I feel like it was a 90s thing to do, was to read I Spy books. And so when I saw this classic I Spy, it just made me, it just got me. I just had to bring the nostalgia home. And so we love it. Because yes, there's some reading. Yes, there's a little poem and they're reading what they're looking for, right? But it's also a really fun activity. So this is something that I would throw in my morning basket, where we would do a page every day that we do morning basket, because it's a fun activity. We're reading, we're searching, we're getting our brains activated. So not only can you read it, but it's also a great kind of like start the day activity, or just an activity in general. So I love this. I picked it up. I put it, like I say, I put it in my morning basket, and I think it's just a great book. And it's just, the nostalgia, right? Because I remember doing I Spies all the time. So great book. Highly recommend it. I don't think I would be Canadian if I didn't recommend some Robert Munsch, right? Like Robert Munsch has to be on every Canadian person's reading list because his books are hilarious. They're so heartfelt and sweet. They are funny. They have great rhyming and sound and onomatopoeia and all of those things. So I'm recommending For Christmas, Finding Christmas. This book is based off his family, and he has a daughter who every year goes out of her way to find her Christmas presents. And so she this year has decided to look for her Christmas presents, and when she finds them, kind of gets herself stuck and in a little bit of trouble because she has just snooped a little too hard. And it is just such a funny story. It's such a sweet and heartfelt story. And I love that it's based off of his family. Great book. You can't go wrong with Robert Munsch. Finding Christmas. Highly, highly recommend. Another Canadian classic. I feel like this is like the most Canadian thing ever. Deck the Halls, A Canadian Christmas Carol. Similar to the 12 Days of Christmas in Canada book. This is Deck the Halls, the song, but with a Canadian twist. So we got beavers, we got loons, we've got polar bears, we've got all kinds of Canadian animals that are getting ready for Christmas, and it's just fun. Like I said, maybe it's the Canadian in me that just can't help myself when I see a great Canadian rendition of a book. But also, it's just like, I like when you have a book or like a song with a twist or something that they've kind of twisted. This is just, it's sweet. It's fun. It gets you reading. You're not really sure what's going to come next because, like you said, it's a classic with a twist. And it's got gorgeous illustrations. It's great. I often find this book or others by the same group of authors at Winners. Winners often has these books around November, December. I don't know if they get overly printed or something every year, but I've found quite a few of there's Deck the Halls, there's Porcupine and a Pine Tree, and Dashing Through the Snow by the same authors, which are, again, Canadian renditions of classic Christmas carols. And like I said, Winners at a discount. Like I think this one, I saw the tag on it. It's less than $9. So great price for a brand new book. And the last picture book I have is this one, Dasher. If you have not yet read Dasher, you are sorely doing yourself a disservice. This is probably one of the few Christmas books that makes me cry every single year. It is so sweet. It is so, so lovely. So this book is told from the perspective of Dasher. She is a reindeer who is with a traveling circus, and she is not in her homeland up in north, and she is sad. And she decides one night to run away and try to find her way home to her homeland. And in the process meets a little man in a red suit who's trying to help all the children get presents on Christmas Eve. And it's just not working out. And so they team up, and Dasher becomes Santa's first reindeer. And in the end, she ends up rescuing her whole herd from the circus, and they go to live with Santa, and they get to be in their homeland. And it's just like literally makes me cry and tear up every single year. It is so, so sweet. And it's beautifully illustrated. Like, look at that cover. Every page is like that. Every single page is just like that. Like, absolutely beautifully illustrated. It is just, it gets, like, it's just gorgeous. And it absolutely gets me every year. So this is probably one of the books that, like, you've got to get. I say if you have to buy any books, this one needs to be in your collection. Because it's wonderful. So those are all the picture books. So if you're looking for maybe something a little bit longer, something maybe a little bit more chapter book-y, whether it is for one of your older kids to read something kind of festive during the season, or maybe you're looking for something that you can do kind of a longer read aloud with your kids, chapter books are great. And there are some great Christmas chapter books out there. So I'm going to show you a couple that we've read personally, because I think, I'm not going to suggest things I haven't read, but I definitely want to share some good Christmas books. So first one I've got, Magic Tree House, Merlin's Missions, Camelot, Christmas in Camelot. Christmas in Camelot. Now, if you are familiar with the Magic Tree House series, if you like that series or books like it, this is definitely a great book for you. It is Christmassy without being overly Christmassy, though. I will say it's definitely more of a focus on like Camelot and like the life of like King Arthur and what England would kind of be at the time. They are trying to solve a mystery to save Christmas, but it's not overly like Christmas. Like, they're not talking about Santa. They're not talking about like magic and those kinds of things. Like, it is definitely like they're on a mission to save Christmas, but it is like a traditional 13th century English Christmas kind of thing. So definitely a good book. We read this last year in like 1 or 2 sittings. But that's because we were stuck in the airport, when our flight got canceled. So we read this. My kids loved it. They thought it was great. It was something a little bit different from kind of like the traditional Christmas books that you would read, but I highly recommend it, especially if you are into the Magic Tree House series. You can't go wrong, right? The next book I have is The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. This book is an oldie, but it is a goodie. It is told from the perspective of a child who has this family in his neighborhood that are a little bit rowdy. Single mom, the kids are rowdy. She's just trying to survive, and they are kind of, this whole family, there's a lot of kids in the family, and they're just wreaking havoc. And they discover that the church puts on a Christmas pageant every year, and they also get free donuts or cookies. That's what they discover. And so this prompts them to come and not only try to be in the pageant, but to take over the pageant. And as a group of children who have never been to church, let alone know what the nativity story is, when they try to take over and make it their own, it prompts some interesting things. It all works out in the end, and it could possibly be the best Christmas pageant they've ever put on. But it is definitely a great read. So if you're looking for something that maybe focuses a little bit more on the nativity, this would be a great option for you. But yeah, it's a really sweet book. It's not very long. You could probably read it in a couple of days. So it's less than 100 pages. I think it's like 80 something, but it is lovely. And there's definitely a point in here where I definitely teared up. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. I'm trying to figure out how I can read this year to my kids because it's just so sweet. But yeah, great book. The next book I'm going to suggest, if you're looking for a chapter book, is How Winston Delivered Christmas. This is a story of a little mouse who on Christmas Eve discovers that there is a letter that was supposed to go in the mailbox and like it fell out, and the mail has already been sent, and now there's a letter from a child who, if Winston doesn't deliver this letter to Santa, this child's not going to get anything for Christmas. And so he goes on an adventure to try to get this letter to Santa on Christmas Eve before Santa leaves the North Pole. It's wild. He meets a cat, he meets other people, other creatures. He's got to break into a mall. He tries to fly a plane. It's a whole thing. It's funny. My kids loved it. We also read this when we got stuck in Florida last year. On our way home, though, we read it. And what I love about this book is there are 24 and a half chapters. So it is designed to be kind of an Advent read. So there's 24 chapters with a little bit kind of like an epilogue as your half chapter. You could read one chapter every single day in December as a countdown to Christmas. And so it makes for a great kind of Advent countdown story. It's super, super great in that sense. And the ending is so, so sweet. I think I also cried at this one. I might have just been tired because we got stranded again. But it was really, really sweet, and my kids absolutely loved it. They got really upset one day when I said, okay, we can't, we're going to Disney today, guys. So like, I don't think we're going to be able to read today. And they were really mad at me. So definitely shows you how much they liked it. Was that, yeah, this was just as good as Disney apparently one night. So great book. Very, very sweet. Now, if you like this one and you've read it, I posted about this book in a Facebook group and someone informed me that there is a sequel, which I'm all for. This book, How Winston Came Home for Christmas, very similar format in the sense that it is a 24.5 chapter book. Fantastic. And so you can read one chapter every day counting down to Christmas, which is great. It can be read as a standalone. You don't have to have read this one, but you can read both. Not only is this a great book, which I'm very excited to read with my kids because this is what we're going to be reading this year. Not only does it have a great story and all of that, and not only is it 24 chapter advent calendar kind of reading, every single chapter has an activity that goes with it. And it's just a simple activity. You can do all of the activities. You can do some of the activities. So basically you can read and do an activity. It does have an outline at the beginning so that you can see what the activity is for each chapter. So you're not going to be surprised as you're reading through. But there's things like some of them are drawing, some of them are making a craft, some of them are recipes. There's tons of little activities that go with this book and with each chapter. So again, I love when things are kind of all encompassing. I've got reading, I've got activities, I've got an advent calendar, all in one. So we're going to be doing, I don't know if we're going to do all the activities, but we're definitely going to do a lot of them out of this book this year as part of our Christmas holiday series. So those are my top recommendations. I hope that you find something that you like. I always say if you're looking to start your own Christmas book collection, definitely focus on quality books, which is I'm hoping what I have suggested for you, some really good quality books. Don't be afraid to buy used. I've found some great books at the used bookstore. Also, if you're looking for kind of a deal, check out after Christmas. But before Christmas, definitely check out like your Winners Marshall's Home Sense. They've often got some really good books that were probably really popular last year. You can find this year at like a discounted rate, and really books don't go out of style. So whatever. I also find a lot of great books at Dollarama. The key though is to look in the seasonal section. So look in the section where they're selling like Christmas craft supplies or Christmas craft kits or decorations and stuff. That's usually where I find the really good Christmas or seasonal books, is in the seasonal section, not necessarily in the book section. So those are my recommendations. I hope that you guys find something that you like. I'll put a link to everything down below. While you're checking out those links, you could also consider becoming a YouTube member where you get bonus content and extra videos, early release times, coupons, all kinds of things for becoming a member. You'll also want to make sure that you're following on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok so you can see how I use these books or other books and how we homeschool over the holidays and all those kind of fun things. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next week.